Hey guys, what's up? Welcome to What Would Laura Do? We are going to be talking about the holidays and family and why the fuck are they so triggering? I love this question. I've been getting this a lot. So as you're coming on, say hi. Let us know what's landing for you. This is a new segment that we've been adding into here and then adding it to our podcast. So if you don't already listen to our podcast, go check that out. It's Healing to Happy. It's on wherever you listen to them. We talked to some really cool people. We had a new one out today. This one's going to be coming out next week after the holidays, but whatever. We have Christmas coming, we have family obligations, we have things like that nature. So I felt like this question and this conversation is perfect. And so if you are new to my world, hi, my name is Laura Patricia Martin. I am a trauma specialist. I'm a relationship specialist. I help high-performing women find love and really dismantle, because I know a lot of us have done a lot of the trauma work, but that's usually related to like money and business and things. And when we have a trauma bonding relationship with our business, we then go into our relationships with that same kind of hustle, and then we're seeing these patterns repeat itself, and it's like, what the fuck's going on? I help to dismantle that and soften into the feminine and have these juicy relationships and all the kind of stuff that we ultimately want. So if you're interested in any of that, all of that coming out, share this with someone. But we are starting this new thing called What Would Laura Do? Where we get to ask our questions. So if you have any questions, just submit it here, and I'll answer them. And so the one that came up inside of my own mastermind was, why does my family trigger me so fucking much? I want to go home for the holidays, but it just doesn't bring out my best self. It's like when I'm around my dad, all of a sudden I'm 16 again. Like, what is going on? And so this is so common because our family is the most vulnerable place for us to lean into. They've known us through every chapter of our lives. They know exactly what triggers you. They know exactly the asshole teenager that you were. They know exactly all of these things. And so the image that we're projecting onto each other back and forth, because we do it to our parents too, and they do it back to us, where it's like this projection of wherever that shitty part of our life was, or, you know, the wounded, where they want to overdo it for us and really nurture us and take care of us. I see this with some of my clients where it's like parents are overdoing it and over parenting, when it's like, I'm an adult, please leave me alone. Or it's this, they're reacting to you, or they're speaking to you in the same kind of light as if you're still that teenage self. And so why does this happen? Because the feelings that we have around people that we've been closest with, it's hard to dismantle that, especially if it's been a rocky past. When trauma is stormed in the body and we start to feel these kind of things, the conversation styles, the boundaries, the things of that nature, or the lack of boundaries, when we last felt an emotion, our body will rocket ship back to that event, and we start to act as though we are in that event. And so you might see this when you're with your parents, and all of a sudden you're feeling like you're 16 and you're like saying sassy things like you're a 16-year-old, or they're responding to you and you respond in a way, and it's just this like pissing match. And then all of a sudden you leave and you like look at your partner and you're like, what the fuck just came over me? Like, why am I acting like that? Like, that is your nervous system at work. It's okay. We've spoken about this a lot at length. Your nervous system is like plastic. You're not stuck. And like your family, you can heal these kind of things. And so that we're going to talk about a few things today that I myself navigate, because this is something I walked through. I was a very not kind teenager, and my family still sees me in that light. So it's been a tool. It's been a practice. It's an everyday practice of like, this is what we're doing. This is how we're going to be having conversation, and we're going to be, you know, being in this moment. I don't like where this is going, because I want to make like eye contact. If you guys are listening to this on the podcast, you're not going to have any clue what I'm doing, but I'm like adjusting it on Instagram right now, because I'm like, I want to make eye contact, but there's like a certain part in your phone that you look at so you can make eye contact, like you're FaceTiming someone, but like it's not working out right now. Anyways, whatever. There's a certain way that we can converse with our family, like we can heal these kind of things, but we first have to, one, understand ourselves, our own triggers, our own traumas, our own nervous system, our own regulation tools. We have to, one, understand the lens of another, and we have to learn how to set boundaries. So let's talk about that, right? So one, you and your body, your breathing, your heart rate, your nervous system, like everything is an indication light. It's such a cool tool when we're in our body. And I know a lot of us, we quote unquote do the trauma work, but here's what I see with a lot of high achieving individuals. One, we know a lot, but we don't actually embody it. I did this for years. I could tell you everything that happens in the limbic system and what's happening in our amygdala, and I could tell you what's going on in the body, and I could point a finger, and I could do all this kind of thing. And I forgot that when I point a finger, all three fingers are also pointing back at me. So I can use my brain, but I forgot to be an embodiment of the work and to really understand. So really one of the key indicators, and I talk about this in Sacred Singlehood, I talk about this in my VIPs, I talk about this in my mastermind, like, you need to understand your body. One, you need to regulate yourself. You need to be eating regularly. You need to do these kind of things, especially when around family and the holidays. We're usually drinking more, sleeping less, and not eating the best. And so we're already putting ourselves at a disadvantage here. So doing the best that we can with the tools that we're given and really balancing these blood sugar levels so that we don't go off the rocker. And then understanding how the nervous system works. Like, we have 3 stages of our nervous system. We have ventral, which is when, our prefrontal cortex is online and we're very, connected and we're aware, and that's where we can actually make connections and all that stuff. And then we have our sympathetic nervous system, and that's when we're in fight or flight. And then we have freeze, which is our dorsal phase. And we have these 3 phases, and we bounce between all 3 all day long. But it's really key to understand our body, and then the brain and the limbic system and the process of that. And if we get all the way down to the amygdala, we are so reactive, because that is basically like our fucking guard dog. And it's so we made it out of our prefrontal cortex, and now we're back into the limbic system, and we're going through, the hippocampus, and we're back in all these. This is how our brain works. And we're processing, and we're losing control as this goes. And if we finally get down to our amygdala, it's very good that we have this. This is what protects us. Like, if we hear something, we can run away, we can take care of ourselves. But if we're around family and we're in this kind of state, basically our guard dog is just going off and not making rational decisions. And this is so common with family. And so the way that I walk my clients through doing this is, 1, it takes fucking practice. You are not going to nail this the first time. The second time, probably not the fucking 20th time. Like, it takes time, but the only way to do this is to practice it. And so being in these states of mind, it's usually when you're out of it and you reflect on it, going, where in my body did I just, can I really feel into what was the sensation in my body before the reaction? Because when there's a stimulus, a trigger, a family member says something, especially in this season of life when all this stuff is going on, a family member says something and then we react. We have something happen, right? So when a family member says something, and then we react, there's a space in between. What's that feeling? What's that feeling that you have in your body? And that is the juicy part. So if you can think back to even recently, it doesn't even need to be a family member. When were you with a friend or a partner or something like that? Think back to an argument you had or an activation that you had. What was that sensation in your body? And the more that you can feel into that, wherever it is, to really show you when you leave your prefrontal cortex, like when you leave the safety of your ventral, and then you're moving into this like limbic system and the hippocampus and all these kind of things, and then we end up in the amygdala. When you are moving through these things, your body is going to have a reaction in some type of way. The sooner you can catch that, the sooner you start to pave new neural pathways, because then you get to choose a new response. So for example, I know when my father does this thing, like, I know my bratty ass teenager self is going to turn on. I know what happens is I start to get very sarcastic. I'm not sarcastic anymore. I was. My teenage self, very sarcastic. So when I start to get sarcastic, I know right away there we are. My prefrontal cortex just turned off, and now I'm moving into my limbic system. And if I don't catch it before it goes in, and so the way, like the hippocampus, right? If we can strengthen the hippocampus, that's where our memories are stored. This is, it's our memories. It's our autobiographical memories, right? So if we can strengthen the hippocampus and different tools and different things, and again, this is what I teach and preach, if we can strengthen that and rewire what the memories are, that bratty ass teenager, that sarcastic, that's my indication light to be like, ooh, we need to go for a walk. We need to go do something else right now. And this paves a new thing. For me and my family, we have a pattern interruption where we just go tone. Because my dad will speak to me in one way and I'll speak to my dad another way, and all of a sudden we will end up in a fight if that's how that works. But I will catch it nowadays, and I just go tone. And like that's a pattern interrupt for both of us, because I can tell when he's getting into his certain state and I can tell when I'm getting into my certain state. And if we keep going, I know where it's going to end up. And therefore, the new neural pathways, like your brain is like a jungle. So if you have current neural pathways that have been going on for the last fucking 30 years, those are strong, those are deep. That's like a jungle that you've been walking that path for ages, right? So if you've been walking this path for ages and you go off the other end, like it's going to take time. And sometimes your family members aren't going to match that with you. Like thankfully, me and my family, I mean, not currently in this day and age, but we have that kind of relationship where it's like we can work in that direction and we're working on it. And so it's a new neural pathway getting built. It takes time, right? Like we still jump off on each other. We still have the sarcastic tone. He still gets the vein. Like we still have things. We're normal fucking family. Like we're very spicy family, but it's those new neural pathways that are coming through. Does that make sense? So when you're in the situation with your family, you might not have a relationship like that, and I totally get it, and that's okay. It's where in your body can you feel it first, and then what's the new reaction here? How do you want to work your way back to your prefrontal cortex? I was listening to a podcast one time, and she was talking about it. She's like, it's a side-by-side walk, because the thing about when we're triggered, we think we're fucking right. Especially with our family and our self-righteousness, like holy freaking pickles and potatoes, we think we are so right. And like that self-righteousness, that teenager, that wanting to prove it, all this kind of thing, like I'm right, you're wrong kind of situation, like totally that's what happens. We want to defend ourselves. That's just, again, our barking amygdala, our guard dog at place, like we want to defend ourselves. And so go on a two-sided walk. This is what she recommended, and I fucking love it. Two-sided walk. Walk. Get your happy butt out the door and go for a walk, and let yourself just freaking rip. Like your self-righteousness come out, be right, do the whole thing. Keep walking until you're done with that. And by the time you turn around, start witnessing life through someone else's lens. A question that I find so powerful that has changed my life is, where could I be wrong in this? Where could I be wrong? Because if two people are fighting each other, you both think you're right. And is it really about being right with the people we love most? Or is it about finding a solution? So when you're fighting and that teenager self comes out, just walk. Walk, let it rip, let the human complete its cycle and do the things it has to do, and then walk back. And really take that ownership, that radical ownership over, where can I possibly be wrong, or what were they thinking in this, and looking at these kind of things. And this doesn't mean you have to instantly come up with a solution and talk to the person, because I mean it can take 6 to 36 hours to regulate our hormones after a fight, like pending how this situation went with your family, which I know this person, we already talked about this and it's resolved and it's fine, but you know, or she's practicing. It's not fine, but it's practice. This is where we start to reprogram, and we teach people how to love us. So if you're going to bite back at your family this holiday season and think you're right and want to prove yourself, where can you be wrong? It's not your job to change your family. It's not your job to enlighten them unless they ask. It's not your job to make them feel like shit for the way that they eat, the way that they vote, the way that they do things. Like, it is not your job. Yes, hard conversations are so fucking good. They're so good because we get to know the people around us so much more. But if the hard conversations are turning into conflict, you're just starting a fight. And that's not what the sacred woman does. That's not what the savage woman does. That's not what we do, right? Like, people in my world, we have empowering conversations that expand our nervous systems. We don't pick a fight just to pick a fight because it's our old self. So witnessing life through another lens, understanding, where am I feeling this in my body so I don't react a different way? You're not going to get this right the first time. Don't freaking think you are. I'm not going to paint that picture, but you are going to start to understand yourself in such a different light and start to take radical ownership over your life. This is how it all changes. So once we get into that place and we start to understand ourselves a little bit more, we get to set powerful boundaries. For me, in my family, We don't watch the news if Laura's in town. Like, this is not a thing that we're doing. And sometimes it comes up and I'm like, boundary for me. And please respect it. Right? With other things, this is how I spend my time. This is my morning. This is my thing. And it doesn't have to be a this is me, this is you kind of thing. It's just an energetic protection boundaries. These are my routines. This is how I know I keep myself, regulated. This is how I eat. This is how I drink. This is how I sleep. This is who I spend my time with. Like, setting these boundaries in place, like, set boundaries with yourself. Don't set expectations on your family. Set the boundaries with self and then honor that, because boundaries and standards are about you and your nervous system and your worth. If you're putting expectations on other people, you're giving away your power. You cannot control your family. You cannot control your friends. You cannot control your clients. You cannot control your partner. But us high-performing individuals love to control every single thing around us because we fear not having control, because what if something happens? Hi, baby. So really looking at this, what are my personal boundaries? And am I confusing that with expectations of others before I step into the holiday season? What are my personal boundaries? Do I not need to stay at the house? Can I go get a hotel and just see them for this amount of time? Is this the kind of relationship I have? Are these the things that we talk about? And it's not even so much like I did this the wrong way, in all honesty, of like, we don't talk about politics when Laura's in town. Like, no, I'm not right. Right? Like, that's the key thing. I'm not right. But do I have to engage? Can I just bite my tongue and witness life through a lens without trying to prove, without trying to be, without trying to, we have this complex as high performing women, individuals, whomever, where we have to prove ourselves. And by proving ourselves, sometimes we end up putting other people down without knowing it. And so I really want to bring awareness to that, where it's like, you're not always right. And you don't necessarily have to set a boundary like, you can just not engage. As much as it's going to claw at your skin. Like, you can call your girlfriends and bitch about it. This is why I love my mastermind. Like, we go in, we rip, I'm activated. Like, there's things to talk about there. But you don't always have to say it. You don't have to teach your family a lesson unless they ask. Like, wait for the invitation if they want to know, like, how are you so regulated? What are your thoughts? How do you do this? Like, then you can have a conversation with them. But if you're going to come in this proving kind of energy of this, like, wounded 16-year-old, that's not really received well. Unfortunately, especially for my healers in this space that I work with and I love. And I know the woman that asked this question is a healer. So I know what it's like. Especially as a projector, we want to tell, we witness life through another lens. Like, I know all these kind of things for you, and it's hard. But to sit and witness life going, how can I be wrong and what can I learn, will change everything with family. And sometimes we have to set boundaries. Sometimes we don't go home. I just shared on my personal story. Like, sometimes you don't have to fucking go home. There you go. Here's your permission slip. Like, you can do whatever the fuck you want. There are no rules. But if you do want to have a relationship with your family and it's not going as planned because you're not showing up in your highest version of yourself and you're all of a sudden this powerful CEO, but like, you go home and all of a sudden you're like, I'm 16, what the fuck's happening? Like, that's where self-regulation comes in. So understanding your body, right? Like, keep the basics, get the foundations right, understand that. Set your boundaries instead of expectations. Witness life through another person's lens, because you're not right. You're not wrong, but you're not right. That's my powerful question, is like, where could I be wrong in this? Or like, where are they seeing me as wrong in this? And then stop trying to prove yourself. Just stop. Your family knows you're successful. That's how you got this far. But we live in this paradigm, especially this woman, like, high achieving, we got ahead because of our proving, because of our trauma, because of our things, because of our family, of wanting to be seen in this power to make up for the past that we had. Like, I feel you so much in that. But it's such a strong energy, and it's so masculine, and it's so forceful. And we do that. Like, I need to prove myself. I need to prove my worth. Look at all of the things that I've done in my life. Instead of making it fun, making it light, making it playful, letting them see your soul instead of your resume. Like, can you try that on for size this holiday season, where it's like, let me witness life through a softer lens, through a relaxed lens, through a lens that you're good just as you are. Nothing has to change. It doesn't really fucking matter how much you have in your bank account. That's not why your family loves you. Your family loves you because of you, and they always have. But we have the complex in our mind of, I will somehow be proven worthy of my family's acceptance if my bank account looks like this, or my busyness looks like this. So let me go hide away in the office and work and be on my phone all the time, as opposed to getting to know the people at the table for who they are, instead of trying to fix them or show that your way is the better way. Like, how about learning about them and making it about them and asking better questions? Like, there's so much power in asking better questions, and how different that is. We teach people how to love us, right? And that is such a lens of, see me as this version, the whole version that my mastermind gets to see me in, or my community or my movement gets to see me in. Like, why can't you just see me in that light? Because who are you being in the presence of them? Are you being that version? Like, yes, I get it, you're a mentor, you're a leader. Like, sometimes we're in that strong masculine. But if you're leading a movement and it's for heart-centered leaders, and you've done some trauma work and you're in the self-development and you have that inner knowledge, let that come through. Let that come through. Like, your heart is what makes you so special. And how different that is, because oftentimes our families aren't used to that kind of openness, the quietness of us, the curiosity. Like, I see it a lot too, like myself included. I learned this one where it's like, the richness of you actually comes from your silence and your curiosity. Like the lean back, the learning. You know, it's always, we think like confidence comes from the person that's speaking the most, but I truly believe the confident one is like the person that's observing and listening. But I know we have a lot of that wounded energy, especially around our fathers, where it's like, let me prove to you that I am the strong female leader that I am. And all these kind of things, and I'm not this type of person, and I've done all these kind of things. Like, soften. He knows. And who the fuck cares? He's not your client. He's not the person you're selling to anyways, if that is the case. Right? So come in this with a relaxed nervous system, an awareness of your body, a brilliance and a radiance of who you are, because you are this version. We just sometimes get activated by these past versions of self, because that's our nervous system at play when we're in the most raw and authentic and vulnerable places, which is our family, because they've known us at our depths and they've seen us through our weakest moments, and now we want to prove how strong we are. Like, it makes sense from a nervous system standpoint, and family wounds are the biggest wounds that we have, to go in and surrender. Surrender. You're okay. You're safe. There's nothing to prove. You're not right. You're also not wrong. So how do you want to show up? How can you prepare, starting right now by listening to this? The awareness in your body. Where are you feeling in your body right now? Right? Like, I can even walk you through that practice. Like, right now, what are you feeling in your body? Are you activated? Are you sad? Are you engaged? Are you know, like, what are you feeling and where are you feeling it? Become more aware of your body. And that's how you get back into, I can identify the trigger, and from there we start to reprogram our nervous system, and from there we have deeper relationships, and from there we create neural pathways, and everything changes. So I would love to freaking know how you're going to use this. I would love for you to share this with someone, just to invite a deeper conversation around the holiday seasons, for someone that is ready to take radical ownership over their health and their body and their regulation and the conversations and the relationships that they do, because I know so many of you have done the fucking work. We work in trauma, we've done the work. But why do I keep acting like this? Or why do I have money problems? Or why do my relationships look this way? Or why is my family reacting this way? Or why is my boyfriend like this? Or my girlfriend like this? Like, because we can know so much, but we've gotten so far because we're in such strong masculine energy of proving. And there's that sexy savage. I have some things coming for the sexy savage. I love it. There's a healthy relationship to it. But the way that it's healthy is that we keep the sacred part alive as well. It's the duality of the masculine and the feminine and doing this delicious fucking dance. And when we're with our family, we get to practice being in our family, feminine and receiving, and to soften and move away from this masculine. Like, masculine's so healthy to use in your business. I love it. In your fitness, in your business, in your body. Like, there's so many healthy ways of doing this, but if we're only in our masculine and the rest of our relationships are stuck in this like proving energy, it's a dysregulated state, and dysregulated is matching dysregulated. It's an obvious thing that that's what we're being met with. So really looking at the relaxation, the communication, the self, because you can't control them. You can only control you. So I'm excited to hear what y'all's takeaway is from this, and you can share it with me here, or you can share it, I guess if this is on the podcast, over on our Instagrams or whatever comes up. I love continuing conversations with y'all and keeping this open and honest and growing. If you're interested, I have some VIP days or sessions available for the rest of this month, and we're moving into like one-on-one containers. So we have 4 weeks of Boxer support, so you get one program plus 4 weeks of Boxer. Right now we have Sacred Singlehood. We just had our kickoff call today. It's fucking magic. Like, this is where everything I know is inside Sacred Singlehood, all about regulation and reprogramming, attachment styles and boundaries and communication styles and things like that. It's the work of my life. So that's kicking off. That's for 3 weeks. I have one-on-one. I have 6 and 12 or 3 and 6 month containers available. You can come hang out there. If you're ready for some high level support, you'd get my entire product suite, which I think we have like 12 fucking programs. If you just want to learn, we have the Heart Healing Bundle. So you get 4 masterclasses in there. And then or if you want all the masterclasses for 2023, we have Backstage Pass, which is you get access to 12 months of masterclasses, because I do a masterclass every month. So you get access to all of that. That's like 30 hours of masterclasses. It just depends what stage you're in. So you get lower level, or you get middle level, which is Sacred Singlehood, or you get high touch, which is our one-on-one. But wherever you're feeling called, I know a lot of us, it's hard for us to receive help in these arenas and relationships. Like, it's so easy to invest money in business. That's what's more understandable to us. But I can almost guarantee on the back end of your heart, your relationships are something that take a lot of energy. And to feel like your relationships support your highest vision, and like to have deeper friendships, and to have, your clients meet your heart, and have your partner support you in all these ways, and really amplify this part of your life. Like, this work is the magic sauce. This work is what changes everything. And I get it, because it's so hard to receive, because we don't want to admit, hey, I've been working in trauma, or I work in trauma, or I work in self-development, or I work in these kind of things. I should have this figured out. Like, it's okay that you don't. I don't pretend to fucking know how to run ads and Facebook funnels, and I didn't even say that correctly, or like any type of that stuff. Like, I don't know. What I do know is relationships. What I do know is I've walked through every growth portal fucking imaginable to be really good at relationships and self-regulation and these types of tools, and to transmute trauma in such a way that blends science and soul. That's what I know I'm good at. Like, to focus on our zone of genius. And when we focus on our zone of genius, and then get a team around the other areas that we do want to amplify, because it's kind of dulling our radiance and our shine and our magnetism, that's the true strength of entrepreneurship. This is why the highest level people have all the support, right? So if you're ready to jump in, I invite you. Everything is shifting in 2023, so come hang out for the rest of 2022. Share this with someone. Let me know what's vibing with you, what comes up for you. Let's build this movement. Let's do it. Where the savage meets the sacred and magic happens, baby. So, I love you so much. Happy healings, my baby. Bye.